Turn the bass up.
I got the profit up. I always double up. It ain't nothing, bruh. It ain't nothing, bruh.
Metalocalypse, Army of the Doomstar. This was a film I never thought I would see made in my lifetime. Because if you think about it, it has been almost a decade since we got the Doomstar Requiem. That came out in October of 2013. And for 10 long years, I could relate to the little promo that happened in the show where they were saying fan unalive rate is increasing due to the delay of the new album. I never thought we would get to see what happened to our favorite goofy metalheads after that movie, especially with what happened at the end with Murderface being infected with whatever it was from Silesia or whatever his name was. Now, it is tragic that John Shett passed away in the making of this, so I'm glad that at the end they did dedicate this to his memory. And overall, this was a satisfying conclusion to Metalocalypse because I've been watching that since college. I got to see the Doomstar Requiem, and in those 10 years, had a kid. So, needless to say, Dethklok has been a big part of my life for a long time. And I remember when I was still in college, they did a free show at my university, and I'd never headbanged so hard in a college auditorium before. Now, at the beginning, they're all suffering from some forms of PTSD. Toki's kind of reverted to a childlike form, and they've all repressed what happened at the end of the Doomstar Requiem. Spoiler alerts if you've not seen this movie, so go watch it, come back, and you're back. The only thing about this film at the beginning that really kind of chapped my hide was Abigail. There was so much buildup in the last, what was it, season 3, where it was kind of an are they, aren't they type situation between her and Nathan. And to kind of see them at least kiss at the end of the Doomstar Requiem showed Nathan growing as a person. Now he's kind of broken, and I can see where he sees Abigail as his only form of salvation, saying, screw the fans, screw the band, I want to marry you. She shows up, he tells her that, and then she basically bells, and that's the last we see of Abigail. I thought she kind of became a really good character there in season 3, and the way that she comforted Toki as they were being held hostage by Magnus and the man with the silver mask. So for her to just all of a sudden leave was sort of like, okay. But going back 10 years later, I suppose they needed something to jump Nathan off into the deep end because he curls further into himself and tells all the fans to go F themselves. I'm breaking up with you. I don't want anything to do with you. But they don't have a choice. Charles Austinson is now the leader of the Church of the Black Clock and tells Nathan that something is coming. They're building the army of the Doomstar to fight Silesia. And he has to basically create this song called the Song of Salvation. And so they all kind of go off to this secluded place. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. And they're met with none other than Dick Nibbler as the main monk, which is such a complete contrast from what we've seen with Nibbler through the years. But that's okay. You can kind of see that he's reached some sort of, I guess you could say, enlightenment. And to pause here and go on an anecdote, I'm a little disappointed that both in the Doomstar Requiem and in this film, Dr. Roxo only made cameos. They're both hilarious, odd, but I guess it serviced the story, but I just would have loved to have seen more of him, but it is what it is. Not to get too far into the plot, Nathan doesn't really take this thing serious because they say for the Song of Salvation, you have to create it as if you're talking, you want to create a conversation with the person you want to talk to. And he's thinking the fans, the band, Abigail, and he writes a half-hearted song. And as they go to play it, there's this spark in his eyes. He goes, what if this is the wrong song? And the Doomstar happens and obliterates the earth. And so at that point, we kind of get that all is lost moment. And to see the trials and tribulations that the band go through, especially Murderface, because we finally get to see what happened with him when he was pricked. And at the end of the other film, we see his arm starting to deteriorate. It's a really interesting moment. And it goes back, it ties all of the seasons of Metalocalypse together, talking about how Murderface half-asses everything, and they hire him back saying that we're too good without you, so give him whatever he wants, because each band member has to accept their role, and he calls them a family. And of course, Nathan being the father, Pickles being the mother, Toki being the no, I can't remember now. It's like Toki and Squizgar are the brothers, and then Murderface is like the sister. It was interesting, but the way they send off Nibbler surprisingly hits you right in the feels. I was not expecting that. But the battle at the end is awesome. I love that they made sure to bring Edgar John Frew back in, because he's sort of like the Q in this universe. And seeing him and General Crozier team up together was spectacular, because you'd think, out of all the people, why the hell is General Crozier helping Dethklok? Watch the film to find out, because I don't want to spoil too much. I love when I was watching the behind-the-scenes stuff after the film, and I'm feeling all these emotions. And Brendan Small's talking about, you had to get back into that headspace of that universe. And then the animators and whatnot were talking about that they kind of wanted to set it apart from the TV show, because this is a big movie. And you can see how they really went out of their way to make this look like a big box office film, with all the different gradients and whatnot, to make sure it actually looked like film, and all the gritty militaristic parts, because there's a major battle at the end. And yeah, it's just a cacophony of madness. Now, there's this thing called the Great Reuniting, that's sort of this overarching theme of the movie. And everyone's thinking that it's when Salacia is supposed to be reborn. He's supposed to bring all of his followers. But I like when Nathan finally comes to this realization of who he is, what he's about, what the fans represent, and what the actual army of the Doomstar is. It was a neat way to really tie everything up into a nice little bow at the end of the film. So, as I said at the beginning, the film at the end was dedicated to the longtime series director John Shep. I always pronounce his name wrong. Apparently, he died in 2018 before production began, which sucks, because I saw him at one of our Comic-Cons, and he was a really funny guy. Him and I can never remember the guy's last name. Dana Snyder, I want to say his name. He did Frylock and the Alchemist and Venture Brothers. And they were just having a blast bouncing off each other, and it was a fun time. So to know that he passed away breaks my heart, but I'm glad that Brendan and the gang got back together to honor his memory and make this film, as well as finally give the fans some sort of logical conclusion, because I never thought we would see an end to Dethklok. And if you weren't around when Metalocalypse first dropped, it was definitely one of those shows on Adult Swim where you'd go around with people and you'd quote Venture Brothers, you would quote Aqua Teen Hunger Force, you would quote Squidbillies, and Metalocalypse was just right up there, along with also with Family Guy and Futurama. So this has been a big part of a lot of our lives. So to see this come to fruition means a lot to all of us as metalheads, as fans, and to finally just show Adult Swim that they have a long-time loyal fan base. It is what it is. I absolutely enjoyed this film. What did you all think of it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have enjoyed this movie, go grab it, check it out. And the last album, Death Album 4, it's surprisingly getting harder and harder to find. I'm not happy with what I had to spend for a CD version. The vinyls are getting just as expensive. So go support it, because Dethklok is worth it. I can't say die for Dethklok, but definitely support it, because it is one of those things that means a lot to all of us. If you've enjoyed this review, I really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the After Dark channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little bone face bell next to subscribe, that way as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or the socials, which I will also leave down in the description. So with all that said, hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day. Headbanging and happy viewing, everyone.